You are listening to the Techie Leadership Show with Bogdan and Andrei.
Hello and welcome to the Techie Leadership Show. Today with me I have John Eades. He is the CEO of LearnLoft, a leadership development company that exists to turn professionals into leaders and create healthier places to work. He is also the author of Building the Best and is the host of the Follow My Lead podcast. He writes or has been featured on Forbes, Inc.com, LinkedIn Pulse, trainingindustry.com, elearningindustry.com, CNBC Money, and more. Hello, John. How are you?
I'm excited to be here. Thanks for having me on.
Same here. I cannot wait to get started. Do you want to add anything else about yourself?
No, I guess the only thing I'd say is comparison is the thief of joy. So wherever I am in my journey, wherever anyone else is in their journey, just compare it to wherever you're walking today instead of to anybody else's.
Yeah, that's really, really good. I like it. I might steal that from you and use it myself. So without further ado, what would be the biggest leadership success story you've witnessed personally?
Well, leadership is a journey and not a destination. And I think that's really
Yes.
important to think through, because one act of leadership that takes someone from where they are to where they want to go can happen all the time. Isn't just one story. It can happen over and over again. But I think we all like the stories of the movie of the leader that takes you to the front line and wins the victory and they think it's over. And it's not always that way, Andrei. So, but there's so many great stories of leadership, because one of my favorites comes from General Mattis. And if you're unfamiliar, General Mattis was running one of the branches of the military, and his friend called General Krulak, they were kind of A and B, and General Krulak and his wife would bake cookies for soldiers at Christmas time. And then on Christmas morning, General Krulak would get up and he would go deliver all these fresh cookies to soldiers or officers working on Christmas morning. And one particular Christmas, he gets up at 4:30 a.m. He goes to Quantico. He walks in and he asks the lieutenant on duty, he says, "Who's the officer that's slept in that cot last night?" And the lieutenant says, "General Mattis." And Krulak says, "No, that can't be right. That can't be right. Who slept right there? I'm talking last night." And the lieutenant said, "No, General Mattis." About that time, General Mattis walked through the door and he sees his good friend. And Krulak says, "Mattis, what are you doing here at 4:30 a.m. on Christmas morning?" And Mattis looked at him and said, "The officer who was scheduled to be on duty has a small family, and I thought he should be home with his family on Christmas, so I took his post."
Whoa.
And Krulak looked at him, smiled, and Mattis looked back at him and said, "Just remember, I work for them." And so I only tell you that story because the great examples of leadership almost always exist when the person acting it out understands that they actually work for their team and not the other way around. They're actually at the bottom of that pyramid and not at the top. So anytime leaders act or behave in that manner, those are the examples of leadership that I love.
Yeah, and that's something that really surprised me, because I had in the previous interview that I did with Tom Kolditz, he actually told me that in the U.S. Army, the basis of leadership that is used in the U.S. Army is servant leadership, and I was really surprised that that's what it's used in an army. So you wouldn't expect it in the army.
It can't say it's consistent all the time, but the whole idea, Andrei, there's a definition of leadership that I use in the book. It's someone whose actions inspire, empower, and serve in order to elevate others.
Yeah.
Someone whose actions inspire, empower, and serve in order to elevate others. I mean, the key to leadership is elevating other people. And if anyone's actions can do that, then they're on their way.
Yeah, and the thing is, most people don't have that view, especially people that are just stepping into a leadership position or aspire to one. If they have like the movie version of leadership, what you see in movies. like you're the boss. You beat your fist on on the table. People have to do what you say. They don't think like actually they are your bosses, and you have to take care of them and inspire them and help them grow.
Exactly right.
That's a really good story. I enjoyed it a lot. Um, and when it comes like to leadership failure story, what would you like to share with us?
I had how I got into this space is pretty unique. I was
Okay,
running a
I'm all
learning
ears.
tech. I was running a learning technology company. We were trying to uh, the learning management system market was very old school. We were trying to bring short video based stuff to the learning technology market, and we were about a year into building that software and that business, and we were really struggling. So I did what most young leaders do. I called one of my team members in my office, and I let her go. She wasn't ready for it. She didn't know it was happening. And at the end of that meeting, she looked at me and she said, "John, I didn't know where we were going. I didn't know what I was doing. And I certainly didn't know I was helping us get there." And it was in that moment that I realized that the problem was not my team. The problem was me from a leadership perspective.
Powerful realization.
It was a very tough realization. It hurt. I mean, I'm an emotional guy. I put my head in my hands, and after she left, I cried, man. It just hurt me, the fact that I thought I was born with some leadership DNA and I had just failed miserably. And so it was actually that failure that got me motivated to not let that experience happen to other people. Now, again, I didn't know what the best leaders did at that time, so that's what set us on this journey the last 6 or 7 years. But my own leadership failure is what caused me to get into this space and to try to help other leaders be the best version they can be. And so there's one of my favorite sayings of all time is failure is not final. Failure is feedback. Failure is not final. Failure is feedback. And, I failed. There's no doubt about it. But that's what created my mission and my purpose in the work that we do. And so it's not final. It's feedback to keep going and to grow from it. And so that's my leadership failure story. And I still fail every single day, and I teach this stuff. It's hard.
Yeah, it's really, really hard. But that's one key point is like when you fail, which is it happens all the time, at least I fail a lot. It's learn from your failures, because that would be like the biggest failure you could have, is not learn from your failures and improve yourself. It's, and as you said, like it's not where you're at now, and it's like a culmination. Even if you have like wild success, it doesn't mean the journey has stopped and okay, you have achieved the
Right.
the pinnacle of leadership. No, you still can improve on it, and you're still going to fail. And the more you grow, the more the organizations that you grow, the teams that you manage grow. You have to grow as a person.
Couldn't have said it better myself.
Oh, thank you very much. Yeah, and I am really thankful for you sharing that story, because it's not easy, especially for a man. I know myself. I am like apprehension to say about my flaws and what I did, and especially having moments when you're crying, because it's like as a man you should not cry, at least in our society. But it happens, and it's natural, and it's okay.
I might cry before the end of this show. I mean, the reason why, I appreciate that it's owning our failures is so important, because we're not perfect. I mean, you're not perfect. I'm not
Amen.
perfect. You know, I'm a Christian, but there's just nobody walking is except one. And it's like, you're going to make mistakes. It's how you respond from it. There's a little equation in the book that I learned from a guy named Viktor Frankl, who wrote a book called Man's Search for Meaning. He wrote about it in the Holocaust, but
Yes.
the equation is E plus R equals O. E plus R equals O. And what it stands for is event plus response equals outcome. Event plus response equals outcome.
Yes.
And it's not a John Eades thing or a Learn Loft thing. I mean, this has been around for a long time. But it's a great mindset to take because we have very little control about the events that happen in our life. But what we do
Yes.
control is how we respond to those events. And when we respond the best we can, we get the best outcome that we possibly can. And so I like that kind of mindset, that philosophy of E plus R equals O. And it'll kind of transform your life if you start thinking that way. It's really, I like to think of them as kind of two R's. So you have event and response equals outcome, but you also determine how ready you are to respond.
Yes.
So it's like the preparation, the work that you do, the effort that you put in, it's getting you prepared to be ready to respond the best you can. And I love that mindset because we're not going to be perfect. But what we can do is do the work and put in the effort to be ready to respond.
And that's so true. And especially the one thing that you have the most control over it, and it's not 100%, is yourself. Because it would be awesome. I would have enjoyed it a lot to have like 100% control of myself. But there are some instincts that there might not be helpful in specific situations, but they're like the first response that I go through too, and I have to learn to manage them and build another response in it to have more beneficial outcomes. And that's a
Great.
struggle.
Yeah, it's a struggle for us all.
And based on your experiences teaching leadership and helping people become better leaders and also managing companies, what would be your leadership philosophy?
Well, there's the simplest version is the definition that I gave you earlier. Someone whose actions inspire, empower, and serve in order to elevate others over an extended period of time. That would be my overarching philosophy of that. My job as a leader is to inspire others, to empower other people to make decisions, and to serve them. And when I do that, I'll be on my way to successful leadership today. I mean, that would be my philosophy altogether. We did a lot of research in the book looking at what the best leaders did. And what it looked at is a leader's use of love and discipline in the way that they lead. So overarchingly, beyond that definition of leadership that I just shared with you, it would be that the best leaders need to use high levels of love and discipline in the way that they lead. And that's what the best leaders do today. So I'm always looking for ways that I can continue to love my people, and then conversely set high standards in order for them to choose the best path. And that's going to help get the best performance that I can. So I would give you those two philosophies as a thing that guides me and it guides the best leaders in our research.
And John, if you had to create a crib note for somebody to pass like a leadership exam on how to apply love and discipline and be a better leader for it, what would that be?
I would say the definition of love is the actual definition is to will the good of another.
Oh.
And the discipline is often misunderstood. From a leadership perspective, it means to promote standards in order for an individual to choose to be at their best. So if I had to pass them a note, I would say to will the good of other people, but know that you can't choose for them. They have to choose for themselves.
Yes.
We started talking today. You mentioned sometimes it feels like you're leading a team of elementary school students or something.
Yes.
The best leaders set a really high bar for what's expected on their team, and they inspire their people and they empower them to meet and exceed it. So I would focus on pouring into people, investing in them, inspiring them, and helping them choose to meet and exceed the standards that you set. That would be my note to them.
And that's what I love about all the conversation that I have, because with each person I speak on the show, they're all talking about inspiring and helping people and helping them grow. It's not the thing that you think while we're working at a company that as a leader, as a manager, you have to basically make sure that the job gets done and basically be the monitor or something like that, doing the supervision of it. That's like the smallest part of your job, and it's more important to focus on the people you're working with and helping them. And I love that. I for one,
Yeah, I mean,
it's
just think about this. You're only gonna. I mean, if you raise your hands above your head as high as you can right now, go ahead. I can see you. Okay, now raise them a little bit higher.
yeah.
See, so like we're all gonna only go to the point in which it gets uncomfortable.
Yeah, that's so true.
So oftentimes we need somebody to help us to go a little bit further, to reach higher, to achieve more, to be more, and that's where the best leaders this whole thing isn't about just being soft and being everybody's best friend. That's not what it's
Oh yeah,
about.
no.
You know, this is about performance and getting people to go higher than they think they're capable of. And so that's why we need leaders like this. We need leaders that see more in us than we see in ourselves. And we all want someone like that in our life.
Oh yeah, for sure. And thinking back to the people that helped me most develop were people that saw stuff in me that I didn't see, where I was discounting in myself.
Mm-hmm.
And the fact that they had trust in me, said, you can do this, I was like, hey, if another person thinks I can do it, I should also think that I can do it.
It's a good attitude.
Yeah. And for aspiring leaders, John, what would be your top 3 leadership tips you have for them?
Aspiring leaders?
Yes.
Well, one, it's important to note that leadership isn't about the title, as we've talked about. Anybody can lead right from where they are.
Yes.
I mean, it doesn't require a title for you to go be a leader in your organization. You can do that. You can do that right from where you are. And so I would encourage any aspiring leader to think of themselves as a leader right in their current job and focus on their actions. You can always turn to a teammate that isn't your direct report and help inspire them. I mean, the word inspire means to breathe life into. So if you're thinking of the word inspire in that way, how can you breathe life into someone else, a colleague that's sitting next to you or that's working on the same project as you that's struggling? How can you help them? How can you teach them or educate them about the best way to write this line of code or squash this bug? Or so thinking of it in terms of you can breathe life into anybody else just through encouraging them. I mean, you talked about someone encouraging you. Support a teammate, a colleague, encourage them to keep going, encourage them to not give up. So many people have lost jobs in this current market. It's like, encourage those that have lost a job to not give up, that don't let that being let go be how they value themselves. So
exactly,
it doesn't take a role or a title to encourage or to inspire other people. And so I would say that for aspiring leaders is to put the hat on right now that I'm a leader right from where I am. And I'm going to do that through inspiring and encouraging other people and serving them the best I can right from where I am.
Yeah. And that's, I think that's the most important step you can take towards leadership, is to identify yourself as a leader. And it's also the hardest step you can take, but it's just like it's like a magical switch after you do it.
Yeah, I would go one more place. We've been doing some new research about what the most important leadership skills are for young professionals. And one of the things that's really stood out is drive and ambition rated really high in terms of leadership skills for aspiring leaders. And that makes a lot of sense. I'm not breaking any news there. I mean, the young professionals that are driven, that get their work done, that work hard, that look to achieve things. I mean, every organization wants people like that in it. But sometimes that drive and ambition can go to an evil place versus a good place. Meaning, I'm only thinking about me. I'm thinking about the corporate ladder that I'm going to go climb or the company that I'm going to go build. And there's nothing wrong with being driven. But I would encourage any aspiring leader to be driven and be ambitious, but to channel it in terms of achievement. And I'll explain. Ambition typically has to do with money or some kind of power or prestige, that I'm looking to get some title.
Yes.
And I would encourage all of those that are driven and ambitious to think of it in terms of achievement. Think of it in terms of long-term, the development of skills, the development of competence, this long-term view of your career that says, can I go help myself and others get to a better place than we are today, not just stepping on them to get where I'm trying to go. So that would be the other thing that I would like to share with young professionals or aspiring leaders today is be driven, be ambitious, but do it in the right way where you're not stepping on others, but you're helping yourself and others get to a better place.
And building a team that is going to help you succeed in the new positions while you're growing. Look, if you have a trail of bodies behind you as a leader, and but you're moving forward, maybe you should stop and look in the mirror and reevaluate your leadership model.
Yeah, you're essentially Tony Soprano. Tony,
exactly.
Yeah.
And it's not healthy, and it's going to bite you in the ass eventually. It's not.
That's right. It's just people hate it. They'll hate you. They'll leave their job.
And one thing that I learned, like in my career, sometimes to make a step forward, I had to take like a pay cut in the benefits. So it doesn't always, to advance and grow, you don't always make more money, or the benefits are instantaneous. It takes a little investment and managing your career and being smart about it.
Couldn't agree more.
Yeah. And do you have like a third tip for aspiring team?
A third tip?
Yes.
I'll stick with those for right now.
You'll stick with those. Okay. You're really good. And since we're talking about growing yourself and learning more, what would be the book that had the most profound impact on you?
I read a lot. I listen a lot. So lately it's a book called Stillness is the Key by Ryan Holiday. It's had a big impact on me. Just thinking of having to slow down and be present in each moment. I'm not great at that with ADD. And so being present in each moment and each interaction with my team, with each interaction with my kids, being present on this webinar today, on this podcast today, it's, every faith system throughout history has stillness at the center of it. So that one's made a big impact on me. There's a book called The Father's Tale that had a really big impact on me. A man in Canada wrote it. It's great for any parent to read. So those are two that jump out at me.
Wow, that's great. And I really like the book by Ryan Holiday. I've read some books that he wrote, and I like his style and his ideas. He really goes like to the core, and he says he's not afraid to say contrarian things and justify them really well. So it's not an unformed opinion. I think that this should be like this, and leave it like that. You pick it up. And and the thing, you're absolutely right. It's really hard, and you have to work at enjoying the journey, because at the end, sometimes the end results might not be as epic as you expect them to be, and you realize the journey was the worthwhile effort.
Yeah, one of my favorite quotes is that the only thing guaranteed is the struggle.
Oh, yeah.
The results aren't guaranteed. Now, you're not going to get the results if you don't do the work. You're not going to get the results if you aren't committed to the craft or to the business or to the team or to your marriage. And anyone that's been married knows that the only thing guaranteed is the struggle. But look at the fruits that's come from your marriage. You got a daughter. You have a
Yes.
partner to go through this quarantine with. I mean, there's so the only thing guaranteed is the struggle. And I would just encourage anybody listening that's going through any kind of struggle is to just not give up. I mean, stay patient, keep going. No one said it's going to be easy. And if it were easy, everybody would do it. So go ahead and make the self-disciplined choices to keep going. One of my favorite thoughts around self-discipline, it's the willingness and the ability to sacrifice what you want now for what you want more later on. And I would say anybody that's struggling right now, like if you have this goal, if you have this dream, if you have these aspirations of things you want you or your team to achieve, don't give up. Don't give up. Be willing to make the choices every single day to give up what you want now, the easy stuff for what you want more later on.
Yeah, and I would have to add, if you can get into the mix a drop of optimism, it makes it way easier.
That's right. That's right.
Okay, John, it's been a pleasure talking with you. If people want to find out more about you, where should they go?
LinkedIn's probably the best place. John Eades on LinkedIn. You can go to you can get the book on Amazon or anywhere books are sold, Building the Best. And then learnloft.com is the company website. And then johneades.com is my personal website.
That's great. And do check out John's book after this talk. I know I will. And it has to be awesome because we haven't covered, I don't think even the tip of the iceberg.
No,
what John knows.
I appreciate you having me on.
Yeah, it's been a pleasure. Thank you. Bye.
That was today's episode. Tune in daily. Rate, like, subscribe, and share, please. Oh, you can find further info and materials in the show notes on techyleadership.com, including links to the guest book recommendations.